you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be giving you the update to the burn build, the Magicka DK for Summerset. Now there's a couple of changes from the previous setup, so if you've got the old one don't worry, it will still work just fine. But overall we're going to go through the rotations, what's changed, CP, skills, all that good stuff, and I'm going to go through it in a lot of detail. So I wouldn't advise skipping it, especially if you're new to the game, and if you're not new you might find some tricks that you don't already know. First of all we're going to go into the stats, make sure we buff up. You're sitting on 46k max Magicka, 17.5k max health, 10k max stam, 863 mag recovery, 2.5k spell damage, that is going to go up, don't worry, and 58.6% crit. We are 64 points into Magicka. We have max health, max Magicka food, and we're using the Thief Mundus Stone. The Thief because we're using a lot of single target hits and we don't want to miss crit them. Obviously we will occasionally, but if we can push that up a little bit more, then it makes a lot more sense to take advantage of that, especially with the whips and your light and heavy attacks. They're very, very important to make sure that they do crit. Otherwise you lose a lot of damage. That's the same as before in the previous video, however, and every update so far. So stick to that. It's really, really nice. We're stage 4 vampire, of course, so we get more recovery and we get less damage taken when we're at low health, but I'll go over that in the passives. Let's see the spell damage. I said that changes, and it does. So we'll proc some of this. With the glyph on, we're at 2. Without the glyph, sorry, we're 2.4. Let's make everything fire off. Oh, I killed it all already. Something a little less squish. 1 part. It's going to die instantly, isn't it? Oh, there we go. 3.5. So there's your spell damage. You've got shit tons. Absolutely fine. That's when everything procs, by the way. Obviously, that happens throughout your rotation, not 100% of the time, but it has a decent uptime nonetheless. So that's where that is. Now, I'm going to make sense of that when I get to the gear, so don't panic just yet. First, we're going to go through the skills, and I'll come to the gear after. So, in detail, of course. First one is Burning Embers. Now this is in the Ardent Flame skill line. It's the second one that you unlock, so it's very, very easy to get. Morph it to Burning Embers. This will do a single target damage over time flame effect to the target for 10.5 seconds, but it will heal you for 75% of the total damage inflicted. Now be very aware that that's the damage done. So if you do 2 ticks of damage and it dies, you get 75% of the damage done for those 2 ticks. If it lasts its full duration, you get 75% healing of the whole duration of it. So it depends on how long it's up for. With that in mind, you can actually use it tactically and claim it back before it's finished. So this dude here, if I can get him to hit me, I'm going to lose a little bit of health, probably not much because he doesn't hit very hard. That's not too bad. Now I'll put it on him, and when I hit it again, I heal. I claim however much damage I've done, 75% of it I get back as health. However, the other way to do it is to let it run out. If we can find something to kill, which we probably can't because we've just squashed it all. Let's look over here for another mud crab. There's got to be one somewhere. No mud crabs. Perfect. You'll do. Let's attack him. Now, watch my health. When it runs out, I heal. So, the full duration runs out, you'll heal. If you take it early, you can take the heal early. So if you're in trouble, you can hit something twice, just double tap it. It's really, really cheap, and you can actually take quite a large heal from it. In fact, even a low tick, a couple of ticks, maybe even just 1 or 2, can heal majority of your bar, depending on whether you crit it or not. So this is very, very important. It's really cheap as well. So keep this on a target at all times. And you can put it on multiples as well. Okay, the next ability is Rearm and Trap. This is actually Beast Trap morphed into Rearm and Trap. It is in the Fighters Guild skill line. I believe you need to be Fighters Guild 8 to unlock it, if I remember correctly. It does 6 seconds worth of physical damage to the target that is affected. Now, of course, our physical damage is quite low because we base most of our abilities off of max magic and spell damage. However, that's not what we want it for. We want it for the Minor Force. This will give us 10% increased critical damage for 6 seconds while this is active. Now, under a boss's feat, of course, it can't immobilize them, but the buff will still count. Anything that is caught in this, if they can be immobilized, of course, are immobilized on the spot while this is active. Now, when it runs out, it will rearm instantly, giving us another 6 seconds of this buff. So we actually get 12 seconds if the enemy is caught in it, or if another enemy is caught in the second one. The buff stays with us the whole time as long as we keep this in our rotation. Now note this is crit damage. What we have in our character sheet, or our stats rather, is crit chance. So we have a high crit chance, and this increases our crit damage that we do. So for those lucky crits that we're looking for, this will boost them. Very, very nice indeed. Looks like this on the ground. Anything caught inside that will be trapped, and you get the buff. If it's a boss, it'll still fire, and you'll still get the buff. So very, very important to keep that in your rotation at all times. I could show you on these, but I'm going to aggro them on. I kind of want to use these in a minute, so I won't pull those just yet. Crush and Shock. Now this is actually a flex slot. I use it as utility, and this particular skill, if you want to know where it's from, is this first ability you unlock. Morph it to Crushing Shock. It's in the Destruction Staff skill line. Now this will do 3 different types of element of damage at once in one hit, so it's 3 separate direct damage attacks, but most of all this interrupts at 28 meters range. So if any enemies are casting something, they need to be interrupted. If they're flashing red, hit them with this. Now I put it on the bar for the passives, because you must have a Destro skill on your bar if you're using the destruction stuff to take advantage of the passives you get, which I will get to, but this is what I put here. You can use other abilities if you want. You can use Ellie Drain if you'd like that kind of thing. You can use Impulse and morph it to Pulsar so that you reduce enemies' health by 10% for 33 seconds. Not bosses, by the way, just trash. So you can use stuff like that. But whatever you use, you must have a Destruction Staff ability here. So this is my utility button. I don't really use it in my rotation. I just use it to interrupt and for the passives. Next ability is Inner Light. This is very important. Keep this on your bar. For slotting it there, you get 5% increased max magic, and you also get 1291 extra crit chance. So this is Major Prophecy, by the way. It's a buff type. You do get it with potions and stuff as well, but this is on the bar all the time, so if your potions run out, you're good. Now, I know it says 2191, and that's a little bit confusing because it's done in numbers rather than percentage, but you're looking at 10% from that. Now, this is in the Mage's Guild skill line. It is the first ability you unlock, in fact, and you get this at Mage's Guild level 2. You will need the passives as well, but I'll go over them in a moment as to why this is even stronger than it looks at face value. The next ability is Flame Lash. Now this is bloody awesome. I know there's a lot of screaming out there about which morph you should or shouldn't have. I'm going to tell you why I have this morph, and I'm going to even show you a demonstration of 2 different attacks on the skeleton, showing you one rotation from start to finish with this whip doing what it does normally, and then another rotation showing what it does if you're lucky enough to get off balance. It is insane. Now what this does, this is your single target ability basically. It's a flame whip, and that's exactly what it does. It's the first ability you unlock in Ardent Flame, by the way, so you get this straight away. Morph it to this version. It has really high single target damage in an individual hit, so just one target. And of course, if the target goes off balance, you will do a different type of whip. Instead of it showing the little flame whip symbol that you can see there, it will come up with 2 eyes. When you see that, that's your opportunity to hit the whip as soon as possible, because when you do, it will be free, so it doesn't cost you any magicka, it will hit harder, and of course, it will heal you over 2 seconds for a massive amount. It's really, really strong. So this is survivability, sustain, and damage all in one whip. The other morph, where it gives you a little bit of extra damage towards your Ardent Flame abilities, like 100 or so spell damage towards it, didn't outperform in this particular setup. This was much, much stronger for all manner of different reasons. Damage, sustain, and survivability. It's really, really strong. Now, what you need to do, of course, bosses can't go off balance unless you push them off balance. You can't do it from a beast trap, but normal enemies you can. Off balance, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, it knocks the target kind of wobbly for 5 seconds and then has a 15-second cooldown. So once every second rotation, stay with me, this will make sense later, you can get 1 to 2 free whips out of every 20 seconds. So on the front bar, maybe for 10 seconds, and then back bar, you can't do anything. Then again, maybe after that for 5 seconds, it will fire, and then you get a couple free whips, and then you carry on from there. Believe it or not, that does actually make a big, big difference, and I will show a demonstration of that in a bit. Now, this guy can be immobilized. You'll notice that the whip... There you go, it changed to the eyes. There's the backflip. So I'll try and immobilize this dude. He's off balance. Another whip. Boom. Now, it has a cooldown. It does have a cooldown. Off balance. Free whip. Doesn't cost me anything. It heals and does shit tons of damage as well. That's about being buffed. It's really nice. Now, the cooldown is actually 3 seconds. So, with off balance being 5 seconds long, if you can time it correctly, in your rotation, if you're using 3 or 4 whips, you can actually get 2 of them on that rotation for free. Only once every 20 seconds, but you can do it for free. It makes a big, big difference. Again, that may sound a little bit confusing, but we're going to go over that in the rotation. Don't panic. Shooting Star, this is also in the Mage's Guild skill line. And this is for stats overall. I don't actually use this unless I'm finishing something off and I don't have enough ultimate for my back bar ultimate, which I'm coming to. This is level 10 in the Mage's Guild you're going to need for this. This is called Meteor to start with. I'm off it for Shooting Star because of the extra flame damage and the fact that if I hit lots of targets at once, I get 10 ultimate from every target I hit. I believe it goes up to about 11. It's really, really, really strong for oh shit moments. Like you need some resources really quick. That's in the passives as well. Or you don't have enough ulti left and you just want to finish something really, really quickly. This is really handy. However, I use it on the bar for the passives from the Mage's Guild, which will give me extra Magicka, but I will come to those. Essentially, this is not our main ultimate. It's just there for stats. You can put anything else there if you want. Maybe Magma Shell or something like that. If you don't have this just yet, just as a survival oh shit button, but this is what I put there for stats. Now, Harness Magicka. This is in the Light Armor skill line, which is gone. Where is it? There it is. I morph it into Harness Magicka. This is a annulment originally. Now, this will give you a damage shield. If you're not familiar with damage shields, you can see my health is coated with a purple kind of shade. Anything I get hit with will take the damage shield first, then hit my health. It's very, very important. You need that to defend yourself. Now, this also, not only does it cost Magicka, it actually returns Magicka. If you get hit by 3 spells, as long as it doesn't take away your whole shield, you can get magic back for each hit. So 3 different Magicka abilities, 3 different ticks, 3 different hits, whatever, you will get magic back. So this is really, really helpful. So if you get in trouble, you can defend yourself and recover at the same time. Now, the next one is Elemental Blockade, which is Wall of Elements originally. This is in the Destruction Staff skill line. It's the second ability you unlock, morph it to Elemental Blockade. Now, as you can see, because I'm using a flame staff, this is called Blockade of Fire. It does damage on the ground to everyone caught inside of this. This must be under the target at all times, by the way. And for enemies taking Burn-In status effect, they have 20% more damage done by this ability. So, Burn-In status effect is something that can proc from fire damage. It's a chance to have an extra effect. If you hit them with flame damage and it procs, you will add a damage over time ability to the target in the form of flame or burning, and that will tick over on 6 seconds worth of damage. It's really, really strong. But if the target is burning while this is under them, they will take 20% more damage from this skill. It's very, very strong indeed. So make sure you keep that under the target at all times. Now, also bear in mind that we are using a particular weapon that will also benefit our damage a lot if you keep this down. So again, it's essential to keep the enemies in this. Engulfing Flame, this is in the Ardent Flame skill line. This is basically a dragon breath. You breathe fire. It does damage to enemies caught in the front of you. So the cone effect that this fires off, any enemies caught in it will have damage over time done to them over 10 seconds, which is quite strong. It can also proc burn-in effect just like all the rest of the fire can. And of course, any enemies affected by this will take 10% more damage from all fire attacks. Now, that doesn't just mean yours, that means other people's as well. So anyone caught in this, yes, it's awesome. Anyone caught in that will take 10% additional damage from all fire damage. It's very, very important to keep that on the target at all times because you're buffing your group. Flames of Oblivion. This is a bit of a flex slot, actually. Flames of Oblivion applies the crit bonus again at the bottom. You can see Major Prophecy. So we get 2191 on the back bar as well. So when we swap bars, we've still got the crit bonus, which is nice. But this activates a fireball, and it can fire once every 5 seconds for 15 seconds. As you can see here, we have the fireball above our head. It won't do anything. It won't even hit him because I'm not aggressive to him. But if I fire it and then get his attention, every 5 seconds, it'll hit him. There's one. Oops, that's a monster set. We won't talk about that at the moment. And then it fires again. Anyway, that will keep firing once every 5 seconds for 15 seconds. Inside the rotation, we actually have that up almost 100% of the time. So you have 5 seconds between each shot. The last second will fire a shot. The ability will run off, and then we activate it again. So we always have 5 second gap between every shot. Even when it's down, its uptime is back again, just on time with the rotation. However, you can fire it multiple times, and it will just keep hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. But it will drain your magic, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. However, like I said, this is a flex slot. First of all, I'll show you where it is. It's the 5th ability in Ardent Flame. It's very, very strong. It's very, very late in the game to unlock as far as your character progression is concerned. You need to be, what is it, 42 for this, I think, in Ardent Flame. I could be wrong. It's either 38 or 42. I can't remember, but it's quite late, so make sure you've got some of these abilities on your bar while you're leveling. You should have, because you're using these two anyway. But of course, then as soon as you unlock this, get it to Flames of Oblivion. It's very, very strong indeed. Also, like I said, flex light. You can change this for inner light if you want. Instead of having it just on the front bar, you can also put it on the back bar. So you get the max Magicka bonus on both bars, and it doesn't make your rotation so complicated. But that's a choice you can make. Eruption, this is in Earth and Heart. This is the last one you unlock, so you do want to put a couple of these on your bar while you're leveling up to make sure you can get to here, otherwise it'll take forever. This is the other ultimate you can use, by the way, on your front bar if you don't have Meteor. Now this will put a damage over time effect on the ground. It has a nasty hit to start with, and then it ticks over for 18 seconds, doing damage every 1 second, whilst also snaring the enemies as well, slowing them down. Now again, make sure you keep this on the ground all the time. Anyone caught in that will take damage, and there's your Wall of Elements. Make sure that is down as well. And above all, make sure they are on fire, because they take 10% more damage from fire. So this will increase, and this will increase. And also this actual flame damage from the breath actually increases itself as well. It buffs itself. Now, Standard of Might, this is a big one. This is in Ardent Flame. You unlock this at level 12 of Ardent Flame, I believe. And this is your main ultimate. Morph it to Standard of Might. Anything caught inside of this will take flame damage, and lots of it. Every second for 17 seconds. And all of your damage done will be increased by 15%. And the damage you take will be reduced by 15%. Not only that, your allies can take a synergy and chain everything to its post, pinning it on the ground for 5 seconds and doing a nasty amount of flame damage. So it looks like this. Anything inside this, taking any damage from you, will be 15% higher than usual. And yes, the breath does increase its strength as well for the actual damage you're taking inside of this. It's very, very strong. So you need to stay in this, do your rotations, and burn everything in fire. It's awesome. Now, passives. Now that may have been a little complicated, hopefully not too much. Make sure you get every single one of these. You can go through some of these in your own time if you want, but these are very, very important, especially for this particular skill line, because this is your main damage one. Combustion did get altered with Summerset, which is awesome, because not only does it increase the damage of your burning and poison status effects, that's a very key point to pay attention to, by the way, especially when we come to our gear. The burning effect on the enemy will actually restore Magicka as well. 500 Magicka once every 5 seconds if the target is burning, or it will apply 500 extra stamina once every 5 seconds if the target is poisoned. These are very, very important points to take note of. They are really, really important, and that is going to kind of come together and make a bit more sense in a little while. But all these can do burn and status effects. We are using poison damage as well, but I will get to that. Now, again, burn and status effect for anybody else has a set amount of damage. For us, it's increased. Same goes for poison. Now, when you deal damage with an Ardent Flame ability, reduce the enemy's movement speed, blah, get it if you want it. Increases the damage of your Fiery Breath, Searing Strike, which is Engulfing Flames, Burning Embers, and of course your Standard, by 3%. So the damage is up, and they last 2 seconds longer. Very, very nice indeed. Make sure you get those. Increases the damage of your Flame and Poison area of effect abilities by 6%. Now, as far as area effect is concerned, this is, and so is our banner. So you want that bonus there. Draconic Power. This isn't hugely essential. We're not actually using any abilities here, but you have got some flex slots if you want to. I mean, this can area of effect interrupt and heal you, but we'll go over that at another time. That's not important to the build. That's just something you can introduce if you wanted to. If you're going to do that, however, I would put it right here. It's mostly for AoE trash stuff in dungeons, but we'll ignore that one for now. Iron Skin, you're going to need this. Increase the amount of damage you can block. You will be blocking. You want to reduce the damage you take. And, of course, increases your spell resistance by 3299, which is massive. DKs have huge spell resistance. This increases your health recovery for Draconic abilities slotted. We're not using any, so there's no point. And this increases the healing received while having a Draconic Power ability active. We're not actually using any. If you were to use a resist buff like this, that would be fine. Hello, Captain Jack. Then this would come into play. But we're not at the moment, so it's not relevant. Captain Jack, by the way, pops up every time I get a follow or a sub on YouTube or Twitch, so that's still active. Nothing I can do. Earth and Heart, these are essential. Make sure you get this to level 50 as soon as possible. This increases the duration of your Earth and Heart abilities, so Eruption lasts longer, and of course any other abilities you use. Battle Roar, this is essential. When you cast an ultimate ability, which is why you want to use an expensive one, by the way, you restore 46 health, 46 Magicka, and 46 stamina for each ultimate point cost. Now this is 250. This is only 200. So this will give us a set amount of resources, but this will give us a lot more. So this is the one you want to use, not only because it's really powerful and does a shit ton of damage and lasts a long time, but also because it gives us the most resources. Very, very good indeed. The ice comet I just used for oh shit buttons, or the shooting star rather. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you and your group members within 30 meters gain minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing your weapon damage by 5%. That's not essential for us, but it is for your group, so that's a very nice one to have. And of course, if you use an Earth and Heart ability once every 6 seconds, you will gain 3 ultimate. This eruption is an Earth and Heart ability. For doing that, you can see that I've got the little hammer bonus at the bottom there in my food. Let me put some food on, actually, we're going to run out. And I'll reapply it, and it'll keep going and going and going. I'm actually buffing myself and the group for 5% increased weapon damage every time I fire it. Really strong. Now, obviously, I'm using it once every 18 seconds, but I can keep that duration up the whole time because it lasts for 20. Easy. This is very, very important, and this is why it's easier for us to use a Beast Trap than other Magicka classes. When you use an Earth and Heart ability, you restore 990 stamina. So if you are blocking and you're in trouble, spam this a bit. And every time you do, you'll get stamina back. Beast Trap obviously costs. Swap to the back bar, Earth and Heart. I get stamina back just for casting that ability. I'm not going to struggle. So let's go through this and pretend we're in a situation where we have to block a lot. We're out of juice, we're blocking, but obviously it takes our stamina. And you can't recover stamina while blocking. But if I spam this a bit, I can get some back to block with or break free with in a moment if I need to. That's not how you run your rotations, but in oh shit situations, that's what you can do. It's very, very nice indeed. Now, what else have we got passive-wise? Destro Staff. Get every single one of these. You're going to need them all. They are incredibly important. But, first of all, fully charged Flame Staff heavy attacks deal 12% additional damage. So make sure you have a Flame Staff and you will get that increased bonus. Also, your Destruction Staff abilities, including your light and heavy attacks, actually go through 10% of the enemy's spell resistance. Really, really nice as well. Increases your chance to apply burning, concussion, and chilled status effects by 100%. That's not 100% chance, that's 100% increase on what the base is. And of course, since we're using shit tons of fire, we can get burning very, very easy. And of course, being a Dragon Knight, our burning status effects do more damage. So this is very important. This, for having a Destro Staff ability slotted, gives you additional bonuses. Remember, I put Crush and Shock on this bar, and I have Wall of Elements on the back bar. I have ability on both bars. That is because if you have a Destruction Staff ability slotted, you will get this bonus, increasing your damage done with single target abilities by 8%. Single target meaning your light attack, your heavy attack, your Flames of Oblivion is single target, and all that good stuff. Really, really nice indeed. And Crush and Shock if you were using it. And of course your whip. Your whip is very important. And the last one at the bottom here. Oh, wrong one. That's Resto Staff. Whoops. And again, get it right. We've done that. If you kill something with a Destro Staff ability, your Wall of Elements, your Crush and Shock, your Light or your Heavy, you'll get 3.6k Magicka back. So you can sustain by killing stuff with your Destro abilities. So if something's really, really close to death, do you leave it alone and let it die in the wall or hit it with a light attack, or do you whip it? It's your choice. If you whip it, you use points up, you use Magicka rather, and you run out, or you run low. But if it dies in there, you get stuff back. So be careful. Tactical play a little bit there. Light armor, get every single one of these. We're using 5 armor. We're going to want them all. Increases your recovery by each piece worn. Reduces the cost of your abilities by each piece worn. Also increases your spell resistance by each piece worn. And these are for having 5 pieces full stop. 10% increase crit chance. And of course go through 4884 points of penetration of the target. So basically, this being penetration, that goes through that much of their resistance. So bosses and stuff have 18.2k resists. This takes 4.8 of that away as far as you're concerned for your damage. So you stack that with your Destro skill and other passives and bonuses you might have in your CPs or your gear. This is very, very nice indeed. Make sure you get all of those. Medium, we're only using 1 medium piece, so I'm not too bothered about these. The only one I really went for is a stamina recovery and a dodge roll, but they're not maxed out. You don't have to get them if you don't want to, but if you can spare the points, then go for it. But don't get this. This is for 5 pieces, and we're not using 5 pieces, so it's a waste. Any of these, I mean, you don't need weapon crit, but this, and the bottom one here, you can go for if you have the spare points. Heavy, of course, get these 3 skills here. This will increase your physical and spell resistance for each piece worn. We're wearing 1 piece, so we'll take that bonus. Also, you get a small amount of resources back for getting hit once every 4 seconds based on how many pieces you're wearing. Again, we're wearing one piece, so we'll take the tiny bonus. And because we're wearing one piece, we do get a 2% increase for that one piece of our max health. And we don't want to be squishy, so get this bonus. Makes sense. Vampire. We are a vampire. It's very, very important. 10% increase to Magicka and stamina recovery. We do want to make sure we've got recovery. We do have some during burning status effects. We also have it if we heavy attack, and we get resources back from our ultimates and potions. But we want to make sure we have a good passive regen at the same time. So this is really, really nice. Undeath, this is essential stuff. Reduces the damage taken by up to 33% based on your missing health. So whatever you've got missing in your bar, while under 50%, this gets stronger. So you take less and less and less damage the lower health you are. You do have to be Vampire Stage 3 or higher, and I am always a Vampire Stage 4 because I'm not scared of fire. When you're a vampire, you do take 25% additional damage from fire. However, if you go low health, that mitigation bonus from Vampire, from Undeath, does actually still apply. So you still take less damage from the fire, it's just that you take more base from it. However, fire, and I've gone over this many times in my videos, if it is like this, a big circle on the ground, this is really easy. Stand out of it. If it's a big line of fire in front of you and it's aiming at your feet, get to the side and get back in again. Stay out of it. And if it's a fireball, block it or dodge roll it. No point standing in the fire and go, oh my god, I'm dead because I'm a vampire. No, you are dead because you're fucking standing in that juice. Stay out of it. Very simple. Once you get comfortable with vampire and know how to avoid fire, it doesn't become a problem anymore. Fighters Guild, you are going to need some of this. Rearmament Trap, of course, we've already got that. Intimidating Presence, because this reduces the cost of your Fighters Guild abilities, and we are using one, so we want to reduce it. And also get this. You generate 9 ultimate when you kill undead, Daedra, or werewolves. We will kill them all the time. There's loads of enemies like that in the game, and every time you get the kill and blow, you get 9 ultimate, which means you can use your ultimate more often, and you can get your resources back and do more damage, which is really nice. Mages Guild, you are going to need... you may need that if you want to use the main ultimate occasionally, so get this if you want. Also reduces the Magicka and health costs of Mages Guild's abilities. We're not actually using any. We're only using the Ice Comet if we need to, or Shooting Star rather, and this doesn't cost Magicka, it costs ultimate, so it's irrelevant. This is good. Get this because this is why we have these on our bar. This here, you get 2% extra Magicka over what it says on the stats, and 2% Magicka recovery for having it on your bar. Same for this as well. We'll go through it. Increases your max magic and magic recovery by 2% for each Mages Guild ability slotted. We have 2 on the front bar, we get 4%. Makes sense. Also, casting a Mages Guild ability grants you Empower, increasing the damage of your next light attack by 40% for 5 seconds. So, if we do need to fire this off at any point in time, your next light attack will be stronger. Again, these are not essential, but this one definitely is. The one that increases your recovery and your flat stats. Very, very nice indeed. Undaunted, essential stuff. If you take a synergy, you'll get 4% of your max resources back. Health, stamina, and magic. Just like that. Take a synergy, get stuff back. Even if it's a spear or a bubble that gives you stuff back anyway, you still get this bonus. If it's a conduit or a nova or something on the floor that you take and it does damage, you get stuff back. A bone shield that protects you and your group, you get stuff back. Take the bloody synergies. They are beneficial to you no matter what. They'll do damage, they'll heal you, or they'll protect you and your group, whatever. And you'll get stuff back. Really important. Increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor worn. Heavy, medium, and light. We're using 1 heavy, 1 medium, and 5 light. So we're using 3 different weights. Because we're using 3 different weights, we get 2% times 3. So we have 6% increase to health, magic, and stamina for doing so. It's very, very important indeed. And of course, this stacks with a heavy armor bonus, giving us actually 8% max health instead of just the 6 that we got there. We are a Dark Elf. Of course we're a Dark Elf. And guess what? Reduces the damage taken from environmental lava damage by 50%, which is blur. Who cares? But also they did introduce a passive into this, which isn't actually in the skills here. It was in the PTS notes, saying that we are immune to burning status effects. That's probably more relevant for PvP, but whatever. Maybe they put it in here, actually. Oh, they did. Shit. We'll go over that in a second. So, take less environmental damage. That's blah, 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 whatever. Increase your max magicka by 6% and your max stamina by 6%. We can use Beast Trap more often, we've got more stamina, and of course our damage is higher and we have bigger resources because of the max magic. We also have this here, increases your max magic by a further 3%, which is nice, and our flame resistance by 2079. Now I know that's really annoying because it says it in digits rather than percent, but it's about 3%. It's not far off that. A little bit higher than 3%. And also we gain immunity to the burning status effects. So if we have burning status effects directed to us, like it would proc on us, it doesn't. We're immune. So although we do take more damage from fire as a vampire, we can't be burnt. Very handy. Also increases your flame damage by 7% and increases your frost shock damage also by 2%. Our flame damage is massive. We're focused on flame damage, so that bonus is very, very welcome one. And of course, one of my favorite and most important passives in the game as far as I'm concerned is medicinal use. I do have an alchemy video out there. I'm going to put it in the description as well, so you can go straight to it to show you how to max alchemy out. Really cheap as well. Within 15 minutes flat, as long as you have the materials. The materials are really cheap. You can farm them by yourself without running around getting random flowers and stuff. You can actually go specifically farm these items. Now, what you do, max this out, dump all your points, and buy this for 3 points. This will increase your potions duration by 30%, meaning if you have crafted potions, they would normally last 36 seconds, and there's a cooldown of 45. However, if you look in here, using spell pots, I am using these by the way, almost out of them as well. This will give you major sorcery, major prophecy, and major intellect for 47 seconds instead of 36, meaning while this is running, the cooldown runs out before the potion does. So as long as you pop this every time it runs out, you can have 100% uptime on these bonuses. We do have prophecy on both bars anyway, so that's not that relevant, but major sorcery and major intellect we do want to keep, and obviously we want to get that boost back from our Magicka when we're low. So it's very, very nice indeed. Keep them up 100% of the time, and that passive is a godsend. It's very, very strong indeed. Really, really good for sustain and overall damage and buff up times and all that good stuff. I think that's it for the passives. So now we're going to go into the gear and make things really, really make sense. Bonus spell with 5-piece, flame staff on the front, of course, and a flame staff on the back, but the back bar can be exactly the same as this if you don't have a maelstrom weapon, so don't panic. This can be farmed on normal. It's from City of Ash 1 or 2. Kill everything you see. It can drop from chests, it can drop from the last boss, and it can drop from trash if you're really lucky. So don't leave anything alive. Make sure you loot everything. Now, this is sharpened, of course, on purpose. I have done weeks and weeks and weeks of testing, so don't go screaming at me going, you have to use infused. No, I don't. It's fine. Sharpened is really, really nice on this particular setup because not only for trials and everything are you already set up where you need to be as far as penetration bonuses are coming from, you already have a decent amount of damage for solo and dungeons as well. So this is very, very nice all round. Don't forget, by the way, you don't need any trial loot for this setup. It's really, really important to know. Now, this has a weapon and spell damage glyph on there as well to increase your spell damage, of course. We've got quite a low flat bonus, but when we proc this, it does go up quite high. And of course, this gives us max magic, spell damage, spell crit chance. By the way, that's not damage. Don't confuse yourself with crit chance and crit damage. That's chance. And also, when you do flame damage from a flame ability, you have 15% chance to apply a bonus status effect to the target. That's very, very important. We can fire off shit tons of burn and status effects because of how much fire we're using. So this has a very, very good uptime. When it does proc, it lasts for 8 seconds with a 4-second cooldown. This cooldown starts at the very beginning, so it's got 12 seconds overall, but from the proc itself. So start counting down from 12 as soon as you see it fire. It will run out after 8, and then 4 seconds after that, it will come back on again, if you're lucky. Now, when this does proc, it will give you an increased 525 spell damage across the board. So you got your increased spell damage from this and from the glyph combined. It's really, really nice. You've got almost 1,000 spell damage increase there. Not far off anyway. Very, very good indeed. As you saw at the very beginning, it actually does stack up percentage-wise alongside, what's the potion called? Major Sorcery, and you actually get 3.5k overall instead of 2.5, so it's really, really handy. Now, the Maelstrom weapon on the back bar is very, very important. I am using it in Sharpened again on purpose, and I'm also using poisons. These, by the way, do double dots, 2 dots of poison, for a very good reason. 1 tick of poison could, if you're lucky, proc a poison status effect, which we get more damage to as a Dragon Knight. We have a 6-second poison status effect on the target, which looks like a little purple buff or debuff with a skull in the middle. Obviously, 1 tick of poison is very, very nice, and we can make it happen. However, because it's 2 bonuses at once, not only does it do more damage, because there's 2 different dots firing off, we have increased chance to make that proc. So we can have 2 poison damage procs here, and then we can have the 6-second status effect firing as well. And don't forget, not only does it do more damage for a Dragon Knight, but also you can get stamina back from it as well if you're lucky. Now, the Maelstrom weapon itself, this is very important to note. You can see here that the bonuses are for light and heavy attacks to enemies inside the wall. So if they're inside the wall of elements, your lights and heavies do more damage, and they stack up really, really high. So if we save this target here, for example, he's got hit for, what, 5k? 8.5k. Now let's put a wall down and hit him. Come into the wall. We're going to kill everything at this rate. 12.3. Big difference. Obviously, burner spell we've did proc then, so it increased a little bit, but there's a big difference. So things inside the wall are the ones that need to get light and heavy attacked. Make sure the wall is down all the time. That wasn't a fully accurate example, but you get the idea. Now, of course, Groftar is the headset that we're using, the monster's head and shoulders, if that wasn't already obvious. Infused on all the large pieces on your body, by the way, and divines on all the small. The divines on the small will take advantage of our Mundustone, and the infused will increase our max magicka. We want our max magicka to be high, because the higher your max magic, the more damage you get from your lights and heavies. Remember, in Summerset, they changed the scaling system so that instead of it basing mostly off of spell damage, which used to have to be quite high to get really high light and heavies, now it's not. Now it's scaled really well, just like your abilities are, off of max magicka. Spell damage does still contribute, of course, but not as much as max magic does. So infused on the bigger pieces to get the bigger bonus, and the divines on the small. So on the head, infused, chest infused, legs infused, and then on the hands, the belt, the legs, the shoes, sorry, and the shoulders go divines. Now Groftar has a 10% chance to fire off when you're doing damage. We're doing dots, we're doing single target, we're doing lots and lots of different ticks of damage, so this will proc all the time. It does 2.4k flame damage to all enemies caught within it, within an 8-meter radius, which is massive, for every 1 second that it's up, for 5 seconds. And it has a 10-second cooldown. So this can actually fire once every 10 seconds for 5 seconds. So 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. Really strong indeed. This comes from Vaults of Madness on Veteran difficulty, and the shoulder comes from Undaunted Chests. But it does give us a max magic bonus as well. So the more max magic bonuses you stack up, the higher the percentage bonus you're going to get from your Mages Guild passives and all that kind of stuff, and your Undaunted as well. So the stacking bonuses go really high. If you take this off, you won't lose 1k magicka. You'll actually use about 3. It's really good. So keep this on at all times. It's really nice. Now, you can go Valken Scoria if you prefer. That will be more single target firing rather than AoE. And of course, you'll lose the max magic bonus, so your lights and heavies will go down, but you will get more health from it. So that's entirely up to you. Now, the other bonus, the other set that we're using, of course, you may have seen it just then, is Destruction Mastery. Remember what I said about high magicka increasing your lights and heavies? This is in the setup before. It's always been based kind of around that premise of increasing the skills, but now it increases your skills and your light and heavy, so it's really nice. This increases your max magic by 1k. It also increases your spell crit chance, and it also increases your spell damage. And while using a Destro staff, just while having it slotted, you will get 2.4k extra max magicka. So 2.5k extra. But of course, due to our stack and bonuses, that is very high, which is why we are sitting on 46k magicka as a bloody magic DK. It's nuts. So I've gone 3 pieces on the jewelry with 1 bloodthirsty and 2 arcane, and then 1 on the body here, and I've got another one on the body. I think it's the chest. Yeah, it is. So the chest, legs, and 3 jewelry. It doesn't matter which order you put this in. You can have them as feet or hands or whatever, as long as you've got 5 pieces. And make sure you've got the burner spell weave on the front. Make sure the staff is burner spell weave, because then you can always proc it on the front bar only, meaning your main source of damage will get the bonus. If it keeps procking on the back, when you switch over, it might run out and you get nothing for your whips. It's really strong on the front bar. Again, for those that don't have Maelstrom weapons, you can have 2 of these, or you can simply put a crafted one on the back. The poisons I've already gone over. Monster sets, blah. We're good. What do we got next? Champion points. Very important stuff. Then I'll go over some demonstrations and rotations and all that good stuff. So, 44 into crit damage. We are going to be critting quite a lot. We want to make sure we buff that a little bit. Make sure that we do that extra crit damage when we can. Plus, we've got the Beast Trap as well, which stacks with it, which is very nice. 75 points into Elemental Expert. We're doing nothing but fire damage, so we'll boost that as much as we can without going into diminished returns. If you want to go over 14%, the only bonus you're going to get from there is if you hit 15%. And the only way to do that is to waste 25 points in here. You will not get there any other way. So I would not waste those 25 points just to get 1%. I'd put them into something else. 9 points into spell erosion, giving us almost 1k spell pen, which stacks with our sharpened, it stacks with our passives, it stacks with any debuffs that the tank or the group may have. It's really, really easy to hit cap with this particular setup, and you don't have to waste loads and loads of points going into spell erosion because you're using something like Infused or Nirnhoned. That may work for other setups, but for this particular one, it was a stronger setup across the board. However, of course, if you are fully trial buffed, let's say, for example, you have all the shiny stuff, which is very, very rare, you can get away with putting 1 point here and you'll always hit cap. However, the debuffs and buffs will fall off, so there will be gaps. If you have this here, it closes the gap. Also for AoE situations, you have a lot of AoE damage as well, close quarter AoE, and not everything is going to have all the same buffs and debuffs on it because, of course, the main focus is the single target in front, which means if you have that little bit of extra pen, you do go over cap a little bit, it's absolutely fine because you'll still be hitting the AoE targets a bit harder. 33 points into Staff Expert, increasing our lights and heavy attacks. You will need to use those quite a lot. They're in between every single skill, so that makes sense to buff those. And Master at Arms as well, which will increase this, of course, but it will also increase your direct damage as well, which is your whips and your Flames of Oblivion and your lights and heavies. Now, I did flip this round and go more Master at Arms, but it turned out that I'm using the light and heavies a lot more often than these, so it actually balanced out a little bit better this way around, but if you want to change it, it's up to you. 66 points into Thaumaturge. This is very important, by the way. I'm not using 75 points in this tree because I'm using mostly single target stuff alongside a decent amount of dots. I'm not using a stupid amount of them. So I didn't bother pushing too many points into here over the top anyway. But if you go 75 points in here, you get the Exploiter passive, meaning targets that go off balance give you an additional 10% damage overall. Now, our whips do benefit from off balance, giving us more damage, and it's free, and it heals us. I'm going to show you a demonstration with no Thaumaturge points here boosting this, so we don't have 75 points, we still have 66, and I'm going to show you how just that whip alone makes the difference. You don't need to go too far into here if you don't want to, but if you choose to, you can drop some of these down a little bit. You will lose your flat damage from your lights, your heavies, and your direct, but you'll of course get 10% overall. Turns out, with a lot of testing, it actually benefits to do more of this and this than it did focusing on this for this particular setup. However, if you're more dot based, then fair enough. But I'll give you a demonstration anyway in a moment. 31 points into Ironclad, just because I have enough points to put in there. I mean, I've gone 75 across the board for flat resist for Hardy and Elemental. But if you want to take some out here, you can push Ironclad a bit more. It depends on the situation. 56 into Thick Skinned. Again, this is for dot resistance. So we've got really good resistances across the board. But if you need to go more Ironclad for more direct damage, that's more than viable as well for situations that require it. So it's up to you where you go with them. But I like this setup as it stands at the moment. Unchained is very, very important, by the way. I know a lot of people miss this, but when you break free, your next stamina ability within 5 seconds is reduced. So if you haven't got a beast trap down already and you just broke free, fire a beast trap straight away. It's cheaper. Now, that's for everyone that's got 120 points in this tree. It's been here forever, just people don't pay enough attention to it. So utilize that as and when you can. 11 points into Quick Recovery, just because I want this passive here. I want to make sure that if I res people, I take less damage. Done in every single build video, I always take this passive. Yes, you only need 10 points in this tree. However, if you have 11 points, you get the full 3% for healing received. Remember, you don't get any points for decimals. You don't get any extra bonuses for decimals. You only get them for the flat number. If I put this down to 10, I'm under 3%. If I put it at 11, I'm over 3%. So I take that bonus. This is a 1% bonus to my shields. It's completely irrelevant other than the fact I've got no points to put anywhere else without hitting diminished returns. And hitting basically no flat percentage either. So there's no point. So I just put them there. However, like I said, if you want to go full into Ironclad and all that good stuff, then you can mess with these points as well. But I'd always leave 11 in here. Okay, 42 points into Warlords. That's not strictly correct. That should be 40, which will give you a flat 16%. And a couple of decimal points, but that won't make a difference. 16% into there, so 42 into there, 75 into here, giving you increased return from your heavy attacks, and 75 in here, giving you increased recovery. Do not put any more points into here, because if you do, you are going to waste them. 25 points will give you 1 extra percent. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points won't give you nothing. Don't waste them. In here, 56 points into Tumbling, because I do dodge roll quite a bit, and 2 points into Shadow Ward, just to make sure that we've got that little block buffer if you want. But you can take these out here and actually buff this to 44 to give it an actual flat 1% on top of what it already is, and you'll be golden, but I forgot to do that. So put those 2 points into here if you want. Failing that, leave it as it is. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you're more comfortable with. Now, I am going to go over the rotation. I know you're screaming, how the hell do you hit stuff? Right. First of all, make sure your Flames of Oblivion is on as you approach the fight. Beast Trap first of all, and bar swap. You're on your back bar right now. Eruption first, light attack, engulf in flames, light attack, elemental blockade, swap bars. So it's 1 skill, eruption, light. 2 skill, breath, light. 3 skill, wall of elements, swap bars. We're now on our front bar. Now what you need to do is you need to run up to the target. You should be there already, but we haven't got anything. So while the wall of elements is down, you light attack Burning Embers, light attack whip 3 times, and everything's dead. When you get to the 3rd whip, light attack Beast Trap swap. Now this time, you light attack Flames of Oblivion instead of Eruption. Light attack breath, light attack wall, swap. Light attack Burning Embers, light attack 3 whips, light attack Beast Trap, Eruption, light breath, light wall, light embers, light whip, light whip, light whip, light Beast Trap, light Oblivion. You see what I'm doing there? Every rotation you change it. So the first rotation it's Eruption, light breath, light wall, swap. Next time, because that lasts 18 seconds, Flames of Oblivion, light breath, light wall, swap. Next rotation, Eruption's running out. Hit it with the breath and the wall. You can see my Burning Embers, not Burning Embers, you can see my Oblivion is actually still active, still running. So every second rotation you do exactly the same with this, and every other second rotation you do exactly the same as this. Now, if that is too confusing, and I know it's tricky to kind of clock watch and keep an eye on all that stuff all the time, what you can do, like I said earlier, is you can switch this out for in a light, so you never have to press it, and instead you can just go Eruption, light attack breath, light attack wall, swap. Light attack embers, light attack whip 3 times, light attack Beast Trap, swap. No Eruption because it lasts 18 seconds, just breath, wall, swap. Blah blah blah. Do your front bar rotation again. Now we're on the second one, then we do Eruption. So that's your other option. Eruption once every second rotation with nothing else involved, or Eruption once every second rotation and then Oblivion every other rotation. Whichever one you can grasp is absolutely fine. In fact, the one with Inner Light on both bars, you get more max Magicka on both bars because it actually stays with you, the buff stays with you, so your lights and heavies will actually do more, closing the gap for what you would lose with Flames of Oblivion. You lose a little bit of DPS, but not enough to really notice. So it's up to you. Now, hopefully that wasn't too confusing, and I'm now going to go over 2 different demonstrations. First of all, I'm going to show you the demonstration with 0 off balance. Remember, all bosses can go off balance now for 5 seconds once every 20. We want that free whip when that happens. You can also heavy attack to get double resources back. The choice is yours. So the first one is no off balance, and the second one is off balance once every 20 seconds-ish. It sometimes doesn't proc on the skeleton, so we made sure that it did occasionally. Anyway, here we go. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to run this particular build and why it's built the way it is. However, I know the rotation or the DK itself can actually be quite tricky, so it will take a little bit of practice. Don't panic if you don't get it right first time. It'll take a little bit of getting used to. Now, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate your support, and if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you'd like to support the channel outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, for Twitter, Facebook, the website XynodeGaming.com, where all the build guides are, where the dungeon guides are, and all that good stuff. Also, I'm now streaming on Twitch as well, so if you haven't seen that already, the link is in the description. Jump into some of the live streams, come say hi, and throw in a follow as well. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.